Hey, hey there. Thanks for joining me. Aloha. Welcome to this photo reading session where we're going to be activating Algebra 2, the easy way by Behrens. So, of course, if you don't have your photo reading whole mind course yet, you can pick that up through me. It's right in the description below. Get it now. That way you can get into the habit of creating photo reading to work for you in your life. So let's get started. So we've already done our prepare, preview, and post view, photo read and post view steps. So now we need to activate this book. So in this book, generated a list of questions. You should have your own personal questions, kind of like I have mine. Looks like I'm working with chapter 1, and when it comes to math textbooks, I'll leave one there. Be sure you do it towards, the course that you're working with, the class that you're working with. Maybe you can get ahead, but start with the chapter that you're working on with the class. So if you're just doing this on your own for fun, you can go to whichever chapter you really stimulates your your curiosity and encourages you to try to challenge your mental capacities. So that's really what we're going to do here today is open up some of these ideas. We're going to create a mind map. So make sure you have a piece of paper. A big piece of paper is okay. Bigger piece of paper would be better. A small piece of paper like this is fine. Just know you might have to write a little smaller, and you may have to do the back side or one for each chapter. The more you activate, the more you need to have your mind map bigger, like a larger paper. I usually use parchment paper, but today I'm just going to use this small piece. All right, so first off, to set up your mind map, if you're going to use a mind map to help activate this book, be recommended in case of note-taking. If you want to, jot down some equations that connect in your mind, that's really what it's about. It's just mapping it out. So we're gonna start with a circle in the middle. Algebra 2, and how to. Okay. So today I want to learn about linear modules. So I'm going to just do a little line, linear models. Models? Models. There we go. Not modules, models. Different word, different subject. So, all right, we're going to open up this book. But before we activate, it is okay to get into a prepared state of mind. So we're going to use our technique. Hands on your knees or in your lap. Make sure you're comfortable. In your seat, your spine is nice and tall, your feet are flat on the floor, and take a deep breath in. Now exhale, let it go, relax your body. Take another breath like that, and clear your mind. Now, since you're a master photo reader, breathe in, place an orange in the back top part of your skull. Let it hover there, 3 inches above that point. Set the intention or purpose for why you're reading this book today, or activating your book today. Your math book, of course. I know I want to gain some knowledge in algebra. I want to understand Algebra 2 and its fundamentals, and I do want to gain a little bit more knowledge on linear models. If I can find just one thing I do not know, I'll be happy and I'll know I've grown. So that's my purpose, my intention. Be sure you're setting your own. An intention and a purpose can wire your brain faster than anything else and it can activate a book faster than anything else because now your mind is focused, laser focused. So let's get going. If we need, we'll use the photo reading technique. We can use all the techniques of photo reading to apply to this book. Got a pen. If you have colored pens, markers, use those because you're going to want to, jot down some pictures, some stuff that just triggers your space, triggers your mind. So let's get started. Let's see, feel a little discombobulated. Let's get settled. Got your prop stand. We're gonna open up the book. 45 degrees, still in a tall seat, just so we can get the information to our brain a little clearer. So in linear functions is chapter 1. That's where we're going to find the linear model. I want to learn about the linear model. Excellent. I can learn a little more about linear equation and inequalities. Let's see, what don't I know? Probably all of it. Just need to go to page 2. Simple as that. Hop to it. Linear models. So, first and foremost, I'm going to photo read chapter 1, just so I can get it fresh in my brain after a day of not staring at it, or a few days after not staring at it. So look down the center of the page, release all of conscious work, see the corners of the page, and look at the white spaces between the letters. Now flip one page a second, and just breathe. You can count or create a mantra. We're just trying to see how it's laid out. It's good. I remember there's examples, there's solutions. It's nice that there's, and that's it. It's nice that there's, very short. It's nice that there's examples, solutions, and there are, normal math book questions to solutions. So we'll get through this and find something new or something we didn't know before. So linear models is one of the most important uses of mathematical model, real life situations. Great. So it's used in real life situations most often. So you can, put in whatever you want. You can abbreviate however you want. You can create little pictures when you're ready, create graphs when you're ready. So the example they're giving here is at 10,000 feet, altitude begins to descend at a steady rate of 600 feet per minute. The altitude of the aircraft can be modeled as follows. So it's just creating a model. So time, or t, is equal to a, or altitude in feet, starts at 10,000 and it goes down 600. So for every minute, and it shows that you can write out the table, create 0, so on and so forth, 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you write this out, it's actually going to help your brain wire the information into something. So this is just subtraction. Minus 600 from 9,400 is 8,800, sorry. And then minus, and you can look at the book or just try it in your head. Minus 600 of 8,800 is 8,200, and so on and so forth. 4 minutes later, minus 600, 7,600. Good, 7,600. Great, and you can double check your work. In a graph form, it looks like there's a linear line. You can start the 10,000 up here and just play. You're just trying to figure out what's a linear model. And this is probably going to give you information you have or you don't have already. And just creating an understanding of, to find an equation. Great. So A equals, so this is the altitude in feet equals 10,000 minus 600 t, or time. That's interesting. Great. Have I learned something new yet? Well, I think the most specific thing I have gained is that it's used in real life situations most often. I think that will give me an ability to see some things in daily life and be like, oh, okay, I can kind of see the what's going to happen over time. There's linear models, is what we just showed. Finding a feature of a linear model is that it has a constant rate of change. Just bounce around and have fun. You can use skittering techniques, super-read dipping, whatever you feel confident, comfortable with. Use the techniques of photo reading to get through at your own pace and rate. We want to learn about linear equations. This does branch off linear models because, actually branched off there. Linear equations. Good to know that there's three main parts to a linear model. You got the table, the graph, and the equation. At least that's what it's showing so far. And knowing that there's only one, two, three parts: table, graph, and an equation, you can see how how simple it can get when you're like, okay, there's only three things to know. Great. Table is easy. You got time versus altitude. One equals the other. Graph is easy. You can set it up a linear model and create a graph that shows the scale of time versus to altitude, rate, and then rate, and then use the equation to recognize it in a mathematical format or an algebraic format. So it seems to me Algebra 2 is opening up more statistics to the equations to evolve understanding of using them in everyday life, because it's right in the beginning. So if you're trying to grow your mathematical skills in everyday life, this Algebra 2 could be the way to go. There are two main tools to solve linear equations, which is nice. The addition property of equality, and the multiplication property. What does that mean? That's a good question. We can find this out in just moments of just looking around. Know both and incorporate general rule of Algebra 1. There you go. So if you partook in Algebra 1, you can understand that the general rule here in Algebra 1 applies to Algebra 2. You're just kind of jumping over, so you can expand your knowledge again to the real life situations to use graphs and tables to your advantage in the future or in the present. So what happens on one side happens to the other. First you start with multiplication, then you go to addition, then you go to subtraction. So let's go through and solve for x. Here, let's solve an equation real quick. 8x minus 12 equals 3x plus 7. So we're going to start by taking away, we're going to find x. All right, so subtract the 3x from each side, because you can't subtract the 8x from the 3x. You'll get a negative number, and then the equation gets more complex than it should be. So take the 3x, subtract it from the 8x, and we'll get 5x minus 12 equals 7, right? Cool. Then you can add the 12 over to the 7, and you get 5x equals 19. Great. Now, we're going to have to divide, because we want to take the multiplication property of equality, divide 5 out of the 5x and divide 5 from 19. So what are we left with? You can do this with a calculator, or we can do it right here, right now, in old division math form. So you can go in 3 times 15, drop the 4, put the point, bring down a 0, and we get 8. Great. So 3x equals 3.8. Very, very good. So that's it. You started to work it out. You got your linear model, your linear equation, and you recognize now that you can understand Algebra 2. Let's just go on a little bit more. I know I wanted to get to know, see, I got to know the equalities. I wanted to get to know inequalities. But for just a moment, some sparks my answers. Literal equations. What's literal equations? Just gonna jot this down. Literal equations, and I'm gonna just quickly learn what that is and move forward. Literal equations or formulas can be rearranged to solve for a variable. All right. So solve P equals 2W. Cool. P equals 2W plus 2L for W. Okay. I'm just going to try this out. P equals 2W plus 2L, and then we're going to find it for W. Okay. So we're subtracting, common error. I don't see it. In addition to using the addition and multiplication properties of equality, you may also need to factor out a greatest common factor to solve some literal equations. Greatest common okay, so let's give it a try. If we need to, we'll take, so we're solving for W, so we got to take the 2L away from the W side and put it on the P side. So we'll have P minus 2L equals 2W. Now we're going to have to take away the 2, so divide 2 from the W, and divide it from the 2, from the P minus 2L. What do we get? That's that P minus 2L over 2 equals W. Okay, so that's a literal equation. So it seems like it's trying to trick you, seeing with the P minus 2L over divided by 2 equaling W. You're going to have to break it down even further and get rid of the 2 and all this and all that. However, that's not how it goes. That's, yeah, that's where you stop. So that's why it's literal. Literal, it literally just stops there, okay? So if you want, you can try another one. If you're working in your own math book, you probably see, especially in Algebra 2, you probably see these literal equations. So this is kind of how you go through it. You know, you're going to spend some time, but this is going to be a lot more fun because you're going to search for stuff that you're interested in and increase awareness, like inequalities and simple linear inequalities. A linear inequality is a relationship involving greater than, equal to, less than, or equal or less, equal or greater to signs. So let's try one. Why not? Solve. See, inequalities. Just last one. And then you know you can go and activate as much as you want. But these books, you have a curriculum probably, so just stick with it. Outdo your teacher's expectations and just outdo your own expectations, just being like, oh wow, I'm just drawing here, you know? So that's it. Just drawing little maps, and I feel like I'm gaining a lot more from this because of the mind map approach and activation. So have fun with your math. Let's gonna solve negative 3x plus 7 is less than 25, and we're trying to solve for x. And this is a linear inequality. So let's find out. So First thing we need to do is subtract the 7 from both sides, and we'll gain negative 3x is less than 25 minus 7, which is 18. Great. And then we can divide the negative 3 from both sides, and x is less than a negative 5. Oh, sorry, negative 6, because a negative 15 divided by 3 is 5. Sorry for that simple division mistake, but 18 divided by 3 is 6. X is less than a negative 6. That's interesting. It's almost like, what is going to happen? What, why is it less than this? It builds in so many more questions. It could be like, why is this greater than? How can we make it equal to greater than, or even equal to, I guess. I bet that's a different question for another time and a different chapter. But there we have inequalities using different signs. If you want to continue interval notation, you can recognize you're getting into more graphs and slopes. And even getting into one chapter can take some time. But as you move through at your own pace, you're going to find, you're just going to get the hang of it. You can spend as much time as you want activating. Obviously, you got a lot of work to do in your math. Just take the time and do it. That's really all that can be said. And when you're applying the photo reading steps to your math book, to any school education book, it brings out this kind of sense of fun and flair that you can find the answers to these questions that at first seem scary, but because you're creating the question, the fear should go away because you're creating an answer. And when those two connect within yourself, you realize the vastness and use of photo reading itself, because all this knowledge out there is already in us. You just have to put a spotlight on it, and our brains will absolutely open, welcome the information, and we can go from there. Because I'll tell you what, your potential completely untapped, every human's potential completely untapped. Let's use that brain power you have with photo reading. Hopefully this helped you in your photo reading adventures with math. So this is a fun piece of paper. Obviously there's gonna be lots of pieces of paper like this. A small piece is not as effective as a larger piece. Using colors can help your brain retrieve the information faster. Using just a black pen like this, it can limit a little bit of that creative spark that mind mapping actually taps into. So hopefully, again, you got something out of this video and you're growing your activation practice, your photo reading practice, and your reading skills. If you don't have your photo reading course, you can still get it through me, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. I'm so happy you're here. Good luck with your reading. I hope you enjoy your reading, and I'll see you again next time. Aloha. Bye.